Hey, good evening everybody. Steve here from Goodness Street Life. Hey, I thought I'd do a quick little snapshot for everybody regarding housing and homelessness in Ipswich. I guess I wanted to sort of talk about the things that I see here every day with the people that are coming in to see us that are really struggling. I guess the nature of homelessness is really changing at the moment, and we're seeing it every day. So to give you an idea, the majority of clients that are coming through our doors on a daily basis to get housing support that are facing homelessness are currently homeless and sleeping in their car. The most common person, or the picture of what that looks like, single parent with children with disabilities. The situation for people in this category, in this cohort, is currently really dreadful. I think in the last 2 weeks, I've probably dealt with 6 different families in this situation, where we have one parent who is trying to take care of one or more children. Their income is restricted to their parenting payment and a Centrelink benefit, which doesn't make them eligible to rent a property with more than 2 bedrooms in Ipswich. They simply can't meet affordability. We talk about affordability when clients come in, and real estate, and everyone has this idea of this 30% threshold. And when I was renting, it was so much easier. So for now, the median income across Goodna is $1,300 a week. So that's the median, which means that half of the people in Goodna earn more than that, and half of the people in Goodna earn less than that. So if you are earning $1,300 a week, which would be someone who's employed, a person on Centrelink benefits would be earning less than half of that, So a person on Job Seeker or New Start, they'll be earning somewhere between $600 and $800 a week. And a person on a pension, an age pension or a disability pension will be earning, fortnight, I should say, not a week, a fortnight. And a person on that pension will be earning $1,100 to $1,300 a fortnight. So if you're in that category, there are no properties available in Ipswich that you can afford. You do not meet it. So in addition to the general run of clients that I see every day, who are single people on New Start, they've lost their job, they've had to relocate due to family or domestic violence, they were in difficult situations. Even if they are earning an income as a single person, you would need to be earning significantly more than the median to really get a shot in at getting a rental property. So in Goodna last month, and these figures have sort of been carrying regularly, we had 29 properties listed for rent in the area, and over 1,027 potential or sort of qualified applicants. So these are people that are applying for the properties. So generally speaking, you've got about 35 people or more applying for every property that you apply for. And naturally, a real estate agent is going to be looking at the people that have the best income, the best ability to service and maintain that property. So more than half of the population of Goodna currently cannot actually afford, or the family. So when I talk about that medium income, that's a family income. So that could be couples and all of that. So the more than half of the population of Goodna currently could not afford to, or probably would really struggle to get approved for a rental application or rental property in Goodna. If we extend that out across Ipswich, we're looking at a median income of $1,600 a week in a family. So again, that means half of the people in Ipswich are earning more than that every week, half of the families, I should say, and then half of every household across Ipswich is earning less than that in a week. Similarly for them, their 30% rule makes it really tight for them to actually get through an application. And this is why we're seeing these explosion in homeless numbers. So for me, the people that are in this dire crisis that are getting sent to our services, yeah, this is looking like, and the conversations that I'm having are really difficult because I'm literally having to sit in front of families who are desperate, who, have children with complex medical needs, and they're waiting for, treatments through hospitals and specialist services. The parents are very defeated and feeling hopeless. I've had a number of people that I'm trying to support that are currently in really unsafe dwellings where they've taken up a rental, and I'm using that word in inverted commas because they're renting garage spaces that don't have kitchens and bathrooms, and they're paying up to $400 a week to rent someone's garage on an unofficial agreement that we know the government wouldn't allow. And we're trying to go through this process with them, with the Department of Housing. But we know it's not just our community that's in this list. And the reality is, if you found yourself in that position in crisis, the chance of you getting any crisis accommodation or support like that is next to nothing, which is why we have so many people currently living on the streets and sleeping in their cars. Pensioners, age pensioners, I'm seeing a lot of those, and I have been seeing those all year. Majority are women who are on an age pension. Excuse me. I've had some on waiting lists with the over 50s and those sorts of accommodations for over 6 months. With evictions hanging over their head or expired evictions, which we're just hoping that we don't end up with QCAT taking these pensioners, out with real estate. They lodge an application with QCAT to remove someone once their lease is expired. They've got the right to do that. And I'd be terrified to see the police and real estates attending properties to evict and remove pensioners, age pensioners, forcefully from their homes with nowhere to go. So look, it is not a great situation for us in terms of housing, and the homelessness outlook from where we sit isn't great. So we're still awaiting some further conversations with the Department of Housing ourselves, because obviously we had a meeting earlier this year to look at ways that we can improve, I guess, the availability of that crisis and supported accommodation for a lot of those vulnerable families and vulnerable people that are never going to be able to meet that income threshold in the private rental market, and are competing against people, if half of these applicants are earning a lot more than them, even if they might meet the income threshold you're facing, you're competing against, I should say, potentially another 35 people that might be making more money than you. And we're seeing this a lot, lots of applications just getting declined. Some I'm even, we're submitting with tenants, and literally while we're finishing up our conversation, the decline emails are just coming straight through because they've seen the income and just immediately declined the rental application. So we have a new housing strategy. So we, I've been out and about trying very hard to bring people together to help us implement and put this strategy into place. So we have our first property underway that we're working on securing under this new arrangement. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know if we have more success. So currently we are still on the look for suitable properties across the Ipswich region, which we can purchase through these arrangements to provide that supported accommodation or crisis accommodation for families, as well as suitable land or commercial sites which we can modify and adapt to build or develop into a shelter and crisis accommodation. We're looking obviously for multiple formats because we're trying to find crisis accommodation for families, people with children, safe spaces where they can go immediately. We're looking for shelter accommodation for individuals with complex needs, and this includes people that have mental health conditions, drug and alcohol addictions, supported spaces where we can ensure we can include safety and management and rehabilitation, as well as specialist supports for people that do have high needs. Excuse me. I do have a number of clients that have complex intellectual disabilities and mental health conditions who are on the streets that we struggle every day to find support for. And there are so many barriers. And I've been doing this job for a long time. I don't understand why there aren't more available government services to provide that immediate support for some of these clients. They're known to mental health, they're known to the hospital systems. They are often in and out with breakdowns and really complicated and drastic things, which put themselves at incredible risk, and also the broader community as well. We struggle to get them help and support, and I send out a lot of requests for partnership and assistance with health services, with hospitals, with the Department of Housing, trying to find support for these people. And I often get these replies which says, yep, they can visit our centre or visit our service between these times. And a lot of these clients cannot do this by themselves. They do not have that capacity. They would benefit from public guardianship or someone there. These are people with really high needs that do not have carers. They'd be eligible for NDIS if there was actually any support out there to help them go through that process, which can take months. We're in the very starting line for a lot of these clients where we're just trying to build up ID, and to try and put together ID for somebody who is highly vulnerable, highly transient, when you have to go through this process of dealing with multiple government agencies, multiple services, sometimes interstate when you're trying to get birth certificates. It's a really long process for us to work through, and obviously, we do this as a volunteer-led organisation to support those vulnerable clients. But it really feels to me that that's, a space that I'd love to see more support in. So in addition, we've got our families with children with disabilities, probably at the top of my list at the moment as the most frequent visits that I get in this centre. Second to that, my complex needs clients. So people that have those dual diagnoses where they've complicated intellectual disabilities and mental health challenges. High on the list of vulnerability, we cannot find accommodation for people. Sadly, I don't think I've actually had a successful placement in maybe the last month, potentially even 2 months. A lot of applications for clients, a lot of supports. Sadly, my tent supply is now, my tent and sleeping bag supply is now out, because more often than not, the very best that we can do for somebody is to provide them a sleeping bag and tent and try to support them through that process of sleeping rough and sleeping on the streets. That is, generally speaking, the only outcome that's available for the majority of these clients. Excuse me. So we're working on solutions, guys, but if anyone tries to tell you that, or tries to blame the homeless, or tries to fall back on these, discriminatory stigma about why somebody is homeless, just remind them that it could be, your parent, on a pension, that gets evicted from their home and has nowhere to go. It could be your child who has a disability and you find yourself unable to care for them, and there's no supports around to help them. This is what we see. Stay tuned, guys, because I'm convinced and determined, as are the rest of our team, to address this problem and make it better. We've got things in motion. It's not fast enough as far as I'm concerned, but we're not going to give up. So if you can help, if you're somebody who has a capacity to get involved in these housing projects that we're working on, at the moment, I'm looking for some builders as well as private developers to also start working with to assist us in rapid deployment of some of these modular sites. So if anybody has specific connections or can provide some assistance on that space, I'd love to hear from you, because we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm not willing to waste any time. Okay, we'll talk soon.